Hey everybody! Normally we talk about writing, but today we're going to talk about art. Because I can!
And there's nothing you girls can do about it.
A while back, we made a video discussing Ahsoka's outfits, what we do and don't like, and ways we think they could have been improved. And I've been wanting to polish some of the ideas we suggested there ever since we made it. I also wanted to use this as an opportunity to say something positive about Filoni's work. Shocker, I know. Since normally we talk about story, and he's a terrible writer, we rarely have positive things to say, but he's a good artist. Certainly more skilled than myself. He started in the industry as a character and storyboard artist, and I can see why. His sketches are clear and dynamic. It seems obvious to me that he has a firm grasp of the fundamentals of volume, structure, perspective, lighting, etc. When it comes to visual direction, I'm not as educated on that topic, but in my opinion, there are many moments in the Star Wars shows he has worked on that are so, well, artistic. There are worthwhile and valid compliments that can be given to Filoni's work. It's just that not much of it can be directed toward his writing. That being said, I believe he has the capacity to improve. Just like art, writing is a craft that can be learned. Each has its own elements of language in a sense, its own fundamental principles that you can study, practice, and improve in order to make an impactful piece that communicates what you intended. But progressing our skill in either profession requires us to seek good feedback, acknowledge where we fall short, and apply what we learned to our future works. And that's where I think Filoni's ego is holding him back. But we aren't focusing on that today. Let's talk about Ahsoka's character design. If you've seen our character development case study, you may remember that I briefly touched on the necessary elements of character design and how it needs to communicate where the character is, their environment and the story's setting genre, what they do, their occupation and/or lifestyle, and who they are, their temperament/personality. Shape language also plays a part, and often as a character changes over the course of an arc, their design will change as well to implicitly reflect that. As I said in our case study, Ahsoka has a very sharp design. She has triangles everywhere. Her main colors are intense orange and earthy red, reminiscent of fire. These aspects convey energy and danger, coupled with the permanent angry eyebrows created by her decorative face markings, and it's clear she's not someone to be trifled with, which is certainly an accurate depiction of who she really is, but I'm not entirely sure it's what she was intended to be. For sure they wanted her to be spirited, but given how the narrative frames her, I think she's supposed to be viewed as friendly and kind, not sharp and angry. The other problem I pointed out is that with her stick-thin build and that outfit, Ahsoka hardly looks like a Jedi, let alone one who is fighting on the front lines of a galactic war. Similar to our other Ahsoka fixes, the goal of our original outfit discussion video was to show how just small changes could have made a significant difference. But in the process of making the renditions for this video, I ended up adjusting the designs more than we did there. Partly for fun, and partly because I had more time and wanted to address more aspects of her appearance than we had before. But I was still sticking generally close to the official versions rather than approaching it as if from scratch. Anyway, that's enough preamble, let's move on to the art. First off, we have Ahsoka's main outfit for seasons 1 to 3. This is what we started with, this is how we originally adjusted it, and now, let's see what you made! Since this is how the audience first sees her and thus sets the stage for the rest of her appearances, I wanted to start off on the right foot. For her structure, I gave her build a little more sturdiness. I wanted her to be athletic, i.e. she's got some muscle, some strength, presumably from training, rather than just being skinny. For her personality, I wanted to keep the sassy spiritedness of her character, but swap her aggressiveness for a more friendly vibe. And I think the most impactful changes to making her appear more approachable was A, giving her open body language rather than a closed and/or hostile stance, and B, adjusting her Togruta face markings to get rid of the angry eyebrows. This way I could bring some roundness to her features while maintaining a way for animators to still use her eyebrows for maximum expressiveness. I also have a symbolic theme in mind for the markings as they change with her aging, which will be showcased in her adult design at the end. As for her outfit, between wanting to appeal to TCW's target audience, communicating Ahsoka's personality, and the animation style and technology they had, it makes sense that the creators did not put her in Jedi robes. But like I said, their final design could have been much better without being much different, as I'm trying to show here. For me, the biggest problem in her official design is that it just doesn't give an impression of durability. Bare skin is inherently vulnerable, and her tight clothes seem thin and thus don't offer much sense of protection either. So I covered her up a little bit more and gave her clothes some thickness, some looseness, to help provide more of that sense of protection. Given the Season 1 designs of Anakin and Obi-Wan, I don't think these details would be too difficult to replicate in TCW's animation style. Also, since I think layers are a good way to add visual interest and the illusion of durability, for a secondary option I gave her a short jacket, somewhat inspired by her Tales of the Jedi outfit. And as a final side note, I wanted to give a shout out to an artist on Tumblr that made what I think is a pretty feasible Jedi robes design for Ahsoka. However, since she also recognized the limitations of the animation, she made 2 other alternative designs for Ahsoka's top, which I also liked. Next up is the Season 2, Episode 2 spacesuit. This is what we started with, and our biggest problem with this outfit was just how skin tight it is. Anakin over here only got a helmet added to his wardrobe, but the 14-year-old girl was suddenly wearing nothing but a spandex bodysuit with a loincloth. I mean, I get covering up all that bare skin in the cold vacuum of space, but yeah. Anyway, I ended up playing with this design a little more than we did in our original discussion. I liked the clunky spacesuit belt and wanted to carry that gear through the design a bit more. Thought it might be neat if she had the boots with the magnetism feature like the clones do. And call me crazy, but I actually think the space mask from the Ahsoka series isn't all that bad from a costuming perspective. With the Montrals, I think having the fishbowl helmet would look much sillier. So I gave this version a similar design. I think in animation it would look pretty good. It's kind of like her scuba suit mask, and in my opinion, having that wardrobe through line adds a little depth. Moving on to her main outfit for seasons 3 to 5. This one we didn't make any significant changes to, but I wanted to make a mock-up of it anyway to show her aging up and how her Togruta features have slightly altered over that time. And since I've been trying to lean more into showing that she's fighting on the front lines of a war and thus needs to seem protected, I ended up adjusting the back of her shirt for full coverage and also played around with a version that has shoulder armor. Next up on my list was the infamous Season 4 episodes 12 to 13 slave outfit. As with the other designs, in our original video we just made small adjustments to give the 15-16-year-old girl a bit more coverage. I mean, I understand that there's an extent to where I assume the creators wanted to show objectification, because she's posing as a slave and it's a terrible reality, but that's how slaves are viewed. However, you can make her look like a pretty thing without sexualizing her. So,
let's see what you made!
Since they both have pros and cons, I decided to take some inspiration from the comic version of this design as well. I wanted the outfit to maintain that sense of objectification without losing sight of the fact that this is a 15 or 16-year-old girl who's just going undercover. I tried to keep the appearance of the pretty slave, but also build in some practicality for when she does need to fight, having what could double as armor around her shins and waist, and the skirt still offering freedom of movement, or she could ditch it entirely if needed. The last design I decided to draw for her was her adult design. While the Rebels' outfit is good, the actual look of Ahsoka is so different that it may as well be a different person. Alibi and I agree that they should have used, or at least borrowed from, the future Ahsoka model from the TCW Mortis arc. It just needs some adjustments to make it more practical and mesh better with the rest of the Rebels designs. As for her live-action appearance in The Mandalorian, we understand that there are some limitations imposed by, well, reality, and that certain designs can look good in animation but seem goofy when translated to live action. But the way they totally changed her look again, making her clothes all dark and serious and shortening her laku so much, we weren't too impressed. So I decided to do a few mashups for some alternative adult designs, taking little pieces and influences from each of her post-TCW looks, hopefully making something that harkens back to her TCW appearances to keep a through line like I talked about before, but also something that communicates that she's changed, she's grown up since then. And on that note, her face markings have now evolved more to show that symbolic theme I was trying to set up earlier. It's a butterfly design, the symbolism of which I assume needs no explanation. I also tried to keep the outfit practical in both an in-universe sense, but also for being translated to real-world costuming. The length of the laku might still need to be adjusted, but hopefully not shortened all the way back to her teenage look. The design on the left was my favorite result, but I liked the other options enough to include them as well. Which one do you like best? Anyway, those are all the outfits I chose to draw. There are other outfits and side tangent discussions that we covered in the original video, so if you want to see those, there'll be a link in the description below. But before you go, remember to leave a like and comment to let me know what you think of our ideas. If you have an interest in writing and Star Wars, check out some more of our content and consider subscribing. And if you want to support the channel, we've got a bunch of exclusive content waiting for you over on Patreon. Stay loud and proud, folks, and I'll see you around!